Alright, so I know I haven't been doing commentary as much anymore, and that's only because, honestly, I've been wanting to step up my quality for my YouTube channel just in the long term. And honestly, commentary is something I always make videos that I'm passionate about, and to be honest, there hasn't been anything lately that I've been really passionate about making except this subject. And the only reason I'm passionate for it is because it involves a YouTuber that I actually used to respect for his viewpoints and his actual reporting skills, and that he wasn't biased. But now it just seems like he's just honestly not even using the right information and not putting out the right information out there when it comes to reporting news. It just seems like he's pushing his own agenda. Now, the YouTuber I wanted to talk about today is none other than YellowFlash. Now, I have called him out on Twitter several times now, and honestly, it is something I've just been wanting to do up until now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, so let's get right into it. So when it comes to YellowFlash, I don't have anything against him, honestly. I really don't, and in fact, I actually respect him on a few occasions when it comes to calling out just the media with the information they put out. And honestly, I respect that, and I don't have anything negative to say about him other than he really is ignorant when it comes to getting the right information out there. And honestly, when it comes to this, I think it hurts him in the long run because it shows that he has a lack of research. It shows that he doesn't do that much information gathering when it comes to covering these topics, and I think that's going to hurt him in the long run. So that's why I wanted to address this full on. Now, YellowFlash is something that I would like to call a YouTube trend hopper. He is like the quartering who covers just any major story when it comes to gaming related, movie related, comic related, anything in nerd culture history. And honestly, I can't blame him for the type of content he makes, as it is something that gets people a lot of views. But the problem I see with this type of content now is that these people aren't doing their own research. They're just going by articles and what they say. And honestly, you shouldn't take this stuff at face value. Honestly, something I find funny about this too is the fact that he's criticized news journalists for doing this exact same thing. And honestly, I can't blame him, as those tactics are dirty. But the fact that he's criticized them and he's doing this exact same thing is honestly hilarious. And he's criticized the journalists that he is using in his videos too. And the fact that he's using them as a source of information when it comes to the topics he wants to push, it is absolutely hilarious. Now, one thing I want to talk about is just that YellowFlash has brought up Sony in Japan a lot. And when I mean a lot, he's brought them up in 6 videos. And honestly, how many times do you need to clickbait this? How many times do you need to do this? Not only that, but he puts out like 3 videos a day. And I guarantee you, with that much content that he puts out there, there is very little fact checking to be done with his channel. And honestly, I respect the grind. I really do. But at the same time, you really don't get that quality of assurance that, of course, that these facts all add up that he's trying to put out there. So in regards to the information I want to talk about and of course tackle in this video, I just wanted to address the videos he's made about Sony because I feel like those are the ones that really show him for spreading misinformation. Now, I'm not going to defend the company. This isn't a video defending them because I'm not a fanboy. But again, I'm just tackling this because I hate the spread of misinformation. So that's why I wanted to tackle this. So just so you guys know, whoever's watching, even if you're a YellowFlash fan, I'm not defending Sony. So don't take it as that.
PlayStation 5 sold out in Japan, but launch numbers are dire. It seems that this is the second worst launch since PS2 for PlayStation in Japan. Now, there's a bunch of reasons for this. I've talked about this before. It would seem that people in Japan prefer mobile gaming. The Switch, for example, is a pretty hot item over there. The Switch, by the way, is the biggest console over there. I think actually the Switch is probably the biggest console in the world. But anyway, let's head over to this story, which has things broken down pretty quickly. As they say over here on this Crunchyroll version of this article, PlayStation 5 has second worst launch for Sony console in Japan on back of selling out. A Japanese game website, Famitsu, reported that today that the PlayStation 5 has only sold 118,000 consoles in the 4 days since it was released on November 12th in Japan. This makes it the second worst debut for a console in Sony's home country, trailing in front of the PlayStation 3, which sold 88,000 units, and then went on to sell over 10 million in its lifespan in Japan. Even though that sounds bad, as of right now, the PlayStation 5 is sold out across the country, though all sales are currently online only. with some stores announcing they may not get stock back in until 2021, meaning there's demand.
So I just wanted to point this out there. How is it you made a video called Japan Can't Stand PlayStation, but at the very same time, you also read off an article that says that sales are doing just fine, even though they're out of stock. And at the very same time, you also put up an article from Pro Square that also has a line that you didn't also mention for some reason. So I wanted to address this article right here. So it goes on to say that it's important to note that the PS5 is completely sold out in Sony's home nation, so it couldn't have done any better without a bigger allocation of stock. And taking that for what it is and comparing that to his thumbnail and title where it says that this is the worst console launch in history for Sony, which no it's not, that was the PS3, and if the PS5 is sold out, how would it be the worst? I mean, they're focusing on different regions in the world, so they have to keep these countries, just have to keep sending stock to every different part of the world. I mean, in the US it's also popular to send it to, because that's where the biggest market is as well. Now, a big issue here is with YellowFlash seeming to combine these two information pieces together, that of course Sony's Japan sales for the PS5 are low, and being connected with, of course, their censorship with Japanese games, which that's only here in the US, not really much in Japan. And of course, Japan has their own censorship rules. They censor a lot of violence. But let's take a good look into that.
The Last of Us 2 also ran into censorship issues in another region around the world, this region being Japan. Unlike PC gaming, Japanese console games are regulated by the Computer Entertainment Rating Organization, who have quite stricter rules for what is and isn't allowed to be depicted than most other parts of the world. This means that even with it releasing with the max 18 years and over rating, there were certain areas of the game that exceeded what is acceptable to be shown in Japanese console games. And so due to this, The Last of Us 2 received heavy cuts to the game's both violent and risque content, which is something that the channel has taken a look at in more detail in previous videos. Like The Last of Us 2, Cyberpunk 2077 didn't only have censorship in the Middle East, but also in Japan. And again, this is despite it being given the max 18+ rating.
Honestly, the whole reason I'm bringing this up is because, of course, YellowFlash brought it up again in another video, so let me go ahead and play that clip.
After fall of 2018, Sony implemented its own regulations on depictions in games, which has censored content aimed at Japanese users. That's 100% true. And like I said, it is a factor, but there's other things to look at with this too. It's not totally the anime girl game.
I will give YellowFlash some applause here for actually admitting that it wasn't actually anime girl related, or at least that it's not just that. And to be honest, if he did do that, that would be completely stupid of him. But the fact that he actually admitted it, I do have to give some applause too. But again, he does go on to say other stuff that I am going to point out. But to be fair, I think it's obvious that everyone could actually acknowledge that anime is not solely the purpose of the decline of the PS5 in Japan. And I'm going to point out something that the Corning actually takes his time to go through and shows himself.
Here's what some people from Japan are saying. The decline in Japan is definitely Sony's own making, but PlayStation is still extremely popular here. There's no doubt about that. The quote low sales are simply because there's no way to get your hands on the PS5 unless you get one of the lucky few lotteries. They're sold out.
So for this next clip, I am going to be breaking it down in its entirety, so let's get right into it because there's going to be a few things to talk about here.
Yosada also contributed a Bloomberg report last year that talked about Japan being sidelined by PlayStation, not only in focusing promotional marketing on the US territory, but also in cuts happening to the Japanese development teams the publisher has under its umbrella. Notable departures from Sony's Japanese arms have been occurring with more frequency lately. In response to the Bloomberg report, PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan claimed the allegations were false and that Japan remains important to the PlayStation brand as its home territory. Yosada says the actions of the company in the region don't match their words. And that's 100% true. Of course they're going to come out and say that. I mean, what are they going to come out and say? Oh, we don't give a shit about Japan. Like, that's not what they're going to do. They're not going to do that. They're going to, of course, say, of course, Sony loves Japan. But the facts are there, and they don't care anymore. And it's really interesting to me just because of, it's a Japanese company ditching Japan.
So immediately that report about them not focusing on marketing in Japan and solely on the US is false, because of course they had the event where they connected with all the YouTubers in Japan solely to market the PS5 and show off actual gameplay first for Japanese audience. Now, the parts about Sony actually having cuts to its Japanese studios is also false, because we know back in October, Japan Studios itself actually expanded more, having a new external development team. And also, Polyphony Digital is also based in Japan, and it has also been expanding more and more. And really, the only key members that have left Sony Japan were the 2 leaders at Team Silent, or Team Siren, I believe, and also the one person who was actually leading other projects at Sony Japan Studios. Now, sure, they were big people at the studio, but Sony Japan is a company with multiple development teams, and they are still making multiple games, so that has to be taken into account. One thing I actually forgot to mention was the fact that actually PlayStation had its own breakdown video of the internals of the PS5 with an actual Japanese person, probably for Japanese marketing. Even with all this information out there, there's also the fact that Sony is also close with a lot of Japanese publishers such as Square Enix, who they partnered with for Final Fantasy 16 exclusivity, even if it's timed or whatever. Now, to be honest, I could cover a lot of the mistakes YellowFlash has made in the past, and even with the anime topic I mentioned before, he's covered. He's made mistakes there too, but I don't want to make this video too long. The only reason why I decided to cover this topic in particular was to show the fact that YellowFlash can be manipulative with the information he decides to put out there, even if it's unknowingly or if he's trying to push an agenda, which I think that would be the more likely case here, because all the information I just showed you, he has not acknowledged at all in any of his videos. But I don't know. Tell me what you guys think in the comment sections, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. So, peace.
Facts are there.